So, all right, we got Rutgers, Washington. You want to talk about a shootout? Here's one that can really be a shootout, Mike. I think you're gonna have a lot of good perspective on this one. Washington's favored on FanDuel by 10.5. Seems a little high to me, but of course travel does come into effect, so we'll see how that is. And then the over/under currently set at 59.5. Mike, if you know anybody in the Rutgers program, I do want you to let Greg Schiano know if you win, make sure you tell everybody you did not just defeat Washington, but you also defeated the travel. Please let him know.
Oh yeah, you get 1.5 wins that boosts you up. That's a tiebreaker in the standings.
There you
But
go.
I mean, I'm very conflicted with this game because I think I don't think Rutgers wins. To put it out there, I think there's too many things. We talk strength on strength, strength on weakness, weakness on weakness. There's too many situations where Washington's strengths align poorly for Rutgers with their weaknesses. Demond Williams is like the exact opposite archetype of a quarterback that Rutgers does well against in terms of it's not just the mobility, it's the off script playmaking ability that he possesses and is comfortable just, nobody's open, you're going to play, a soft zone, I'm going to, take these 6 yards every single time. Or if you're playing man, you don't see me coming, I'll, wait. He's just very good at extending plays and kind of making things happen with his legs. But he's also got a really good arm and he's accurate. So it's like pick your poison. And then you have a guy in Jonah Coleman who might be the best running back in the Big Ten. Rutgers run defense is terrible. Their pass defense is terrible too, in fairness. But playing on
They
the
they stopped
road,
Minnesota pretty well. What was it, like 18 carries for 35 yards or something?
yeah. But I think that's a huge asterisk because Darius Taylor wasn't playing, AJ Turner wasn't playing. They basically sold out to stop the run and forced Drake Lindsay to beat them, and Drake Lindsay did just that. Um, I think Washington's one of the hardest places to play in the country. Outside of that Ohio State game, they won 22 straight games, so 22 of the last 23. They have a little bit of revenge narrative for how poorly they played last year at Rutgers. If you look at Bill Connolly's post game win expectancy percentage, he basically takes like every play and based on like success rate and EPA per play, like he gives a percentage likelihood that you would win just based on those factors. Rutgers Washington last year was the lowest post game win expectancy of any team that won a game in the FBS last year. Any
Wow.
single instance. Rutgers had about a 1 to 2% chance of winning that game. I forget the exact percentage, just because of Washington missed 3 kicks. They blocked a kick, but they had this ridiculous penalty where a guy ran on the field while the ball was still live and celebrated, so that got turned back. They had multiple situations where they got down into the low red zone and they went for it on 4th down and didn't convert, and Rutgers took over. There was just so many things that they had to go right for Rutgers to win the way that they played that game. So I do not feel good about this game whatsoever. And my question is, can Greg Schiano fix the defense in the bye week similar to how he did last year, or is it going to be more of the same bottom dwelling this defense has had all year? Last year, Rutgers went on a terrible skid in October. It was maybe the easiest schedule in the Big Ten last year. They went 4-4 into the November bye. A lot of Rutgers fans didn't think they'd win another game the rest of the season. They closed out the season 3-1. Arguably should have went 4-0. That Illinois game still haunts Rutgers fans because they haven't won a game against a ranked opponent since 2009, and they had that on a silver platter against Illinois. But we're not going to go into trauma today. This isn't a therapy session, but uh, Schiano was able to simplify the defense, like tear it down to the studs, and that was kind of what was credited for the turnaround last year. I just don't see the ability to do that with the personnel that they have and the play caller that they have. Additionally, you look at who Rutgers has to face still this year, and it is a gauntlet. They have a ton of top teams they still have to play. So I am very concerned that we're just going to see more of the same from this Rutgers defense, and that's why I can't, even in my most hazy fever dream, even concoct a scenario where Rutgers beats Washington on the road Friday night. So that's kind of my long-winded answer to you.
Well, I'll tell you, I was trying to concoct one in my mind earlier when I was thinking through this. I was like, how does Rutgers get this win? And my only hope is that UCLA beat Penn State, so anything is possible, right? We know anything is possible. But my big question for this one is that has Rutgers adjusted the defense so they'll be able to account for another athletic QB? As you said, it's not just being able to run, but it's also the mobility, the ability to extend plays. Eric O'Neill and Bradley Weaver was very excited for those additions in the offseason, but they haven't been quite the pass rushers that you would hope, especially with this Rutgers secondary, being a little bit weaker this season. I do think that their safeties have improved throughout the season with some of their tackling ability and stuff, but the secondary remains having a hard time because really, like you said, when you sell out to stop the run, as you kind of have to do with this D line right now, then you just kind of leave those corners and those safeties on an island, and that's obviously really, really tough for them to be able to make those plays. So Parker Navarro and Mark Gronowski are the two other athletic QBs they faced so far this season. Those two combined for 148 yards and 4 touchdowns on the grounds. I think even if you spy Damon Williams, like there's still Jonah Coleman, who that's one of the biggest
Yep.
things with this Washington team is that if Damon Williams gets out and running, somebody has to go after him and chase him. And typically, when they go after and chase him, Jonah Coleman's left open, and he can kind of just drop it off to Coleman there. I mean, he is their second leading receptions right now. He is their second leading player in receptions right now. So, Moses Walk is it Walker or Walk?
Moses Walker, but he is out for the
Walker. I was gonna say
season.
he's
He,
injured.
yeah,
Yeah. Abram Wright and Darrell Djabome. I practiced that one, so hopefully I got it right.
he did.
They'll
Yep.
have their hands full. I find it funny. Sam Robinson, his name on Twitter is Shiesty Sam. So we'll see if Shiesty Sam is ready in this one, as I think he'll probably get some snaps in this game as well. But it's gonna be an interesting one for Rutgers, and of course, if it does turn into a shootout, as it probably will. Athen Kaliak and these guys, they're gonna have to be ready. Now,
Yep.
I like Athen. He's a gunslinger. He puts the ball out there. Sometimes he doesn't care where the defense is at all. He's just gonna fire it in there. And Ian Strong, KJ Duff, get ready for it. But we'll see if they can keep up with them. That's gonna be a huge part of this game.
Yeah, I mean that's really the only way Rutgers can win is if it's a shootout and if they're able to capitalize on the couple instances where a tip ball is up in the air. Like Rutgers hasn't been able to capitalize on those opportunities yet this season. I think they only have like 2 or 3 turnovers on the whole year. So I feel like you're gonna have to kind of create your own luck that way. That's the only way to beat this Washington team is to play a shootout style and keep up with them, but also take advantage when the inevitable opportunity comes to kind of uh, get a turnover or to get a block kick. Rutgers has 3 block kicks for touchdowns already this year. They haven't had one since the non-conference slate though, so they didn't do it at all in the Big Ten. But they kind of have to have those big plays on defense and special teams to beat Washington, take away some possessions from the Huskies.
Mm-hmm. Ryan Evans says, "What happens if this game turns into a shootout? If this game turns into a shootout, Rutgers has a chance. I mean,
Yep.
that's kind of the way you want it to be. If it does not, I fear Rutgers may not cover in this one and have Washington take care of business. So, and I
And
do not have. Oh, good.
and I mean, the last 2 games, Washington's played an elite defense in Ohio State and a very good defense in Maryland. 3 of those 4 quarters, they've basically not been able to, move the ball with any level of consistency. So you got to hope that maybe some of what you see on tape is replicable there. I don't personally think it is with Rutgers personnel, but Washington also had just an all-time emotional win last week, going west to east. Coming back from 20 down on the road, like not saying that they'll be a hangover, but they're on a short week. Rutgers is on a bye. Like you kind of have to build these narratives one on top of another to kind of convince yourself maybe there's a chance. But I personally don't think there is. But if you're going to concoct a story that Rutgers can win this game, it starts with they're emotionally spent. They're on a short week. You see some things that Maryland and Ohio State were able to do, and maybe you try and do the same things if you're Rutgers. But that's all I got.
Hey, I love the attempt there, and if it happens, we're gonna give you all the credit in the world, Mike. So
I'll take it.
there you go. My score prediction in this one is Washington wins 38-28. So taking the over. I don't think that necessarily means it's gonna be a huge shootout or anything that Rutgers is able to win, but I do think that this is one that could be close at halftime. I do think Rutgers can keep up with them there. Maybe like a 24-21 halftime or something, but. Unless something changes, we might kind of get more of what we've seen from this Rutgers team in the second half, which is the defenses kind of adjust to what they're doing, and the offense stalls out a little bit, and typically the other team starts to pull ahead a little bit more. So, Mike, what's your score prediction?
I got Washington winning this one 31 or 41-34. So I have Rutgers covering and I have the over hitting.
There we go. And then Zach is not as confident in Rutgers as us. He has Washington winning this one, 38-24, taking the over. I say not as confident as us. We're not really all that confident either. So I can only imagine what Zach would be saying right now if he was on here.